Hey guys!
We got a double dink.
We're double dinking.
That sounds terrible. We are live. Hello.
We are live. Hello, and we'll do this again when we officially begin, but apologies for the somewhat low video quality. Poor Ja-Mez has been working hard to try and figure out.
I'm trying to figure it out. I think it's my internet connection.
Maybe.
I don't know why, but it's not, like, it looks fine to us. When we look at it in our screen here, it looks amazing.
It's great.
And when I broadcast it other times, it looks fine, but whenever we do it for 3GP, like, it just, I don't know, the quality yeah. And I can record it at 1080p, and I'm hoping you guys can see it just fine, so let us know how the
important thing is that you hear us. Ja-Mez has an awesome new snowball mic, and we are...
I'm hoping it's not too loud, though.
Well, that means we can talk like this, and then I'm just looking at the little gauge there, and it's still in the green. If I go like this, then it's...
Yeah, let's not pull an arrow.
Let's not pull an arrow.
I do have neighbors upstairs.
We do have arrows upstairs. We are indeed live, so we're just doing a pre-show thing. I'm just looking up a Wikipedia article because I'm prepared. I made chocolate chip zucchini bread today. It was epic.
I have no food because I need to go grocery shopping.
Oh no, I would have brought some for you.
I had a popsicle for dinner.
Oh, Ja-Mez.
Well, I've got meat, but all of my meat's frozen, and then some of it that isn't frozen, and I can like cook up on the George Foreman grill.
Yeah.
It's kind of higher fat content because I bought it before I went into the hospital. I'm not allowed to have higher fat content. So.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I made dal tonight. That's what I made. Sound is fine. There's lag. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna have to figure something else out for next week.
Video is a little better from next week, but not great. Sound is good. Sound is good. That's good. We can. It's sad because I'm looking at it on Ja-Mez's screen here, and we look awesome, right? This is a fantastic webcam, and it's just trying to figure out how to get YouTube to agree with us. Unfortunately.
You know, next time what we should probably do is we should take my webcam to your place.
We could try that out
and see if your connection is any better.
Yeah, see if it makes a difference. I'm not in a basement. And I'm not wireless either.
Yeah.
So that might.
Well, I tried wired, but for some reason it's not working for me today. So I changed over to wireless, and it's
just fine,
for some reason wireless works. I can't explain it.
But it looks great, and we have good sound, hopefully. So I tend to get quality drop on other videos.
I don't know what it is. I've looked up articles, I've looked up videos, I've tried to figure it out, and I mean, if anybody else knows what it is, please let me know, because I can't figure it out. But anyways, that's not what we're talking about today.
We're not talking about that today, but we're not. How long do we have? 4 minutes.
I don't have the clock on, so
we got 4 minutes before.
4 minutes. Huzzah!
Before we officially begin, as you can see, Errol is with us today. We'll discuss.
No, he's camping with his phone.
He's camping
his
with
wife.
his wife. There was so much build up to this camping trip. There was so much I'm going into the wilderness. I'm not going to have any connection to the outside world. I'm going to be alone with my wife for the first time in
Which most husbands would look forward to that kind of thing.
He did.
Not Errol.
Well, he did. He was like, I'm going to, the kid, because
what happened to I love my wife's bum?
And when he
loves his cell phone connection more.
When I asked him, is it the whole family going? And he was like, no, that's the only good thing about this is that, well, he was like, the kids aren't going to be left at home. It's like a romantic getaway for him and his wife. And yesterday I got a phone call. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
And we're getting pictures on Facebook, as I'm sure most of you are watching.
Yeah, he's getting pictures on Facebook, and it's he got 1 bar of service, and so he took full advantage of that. Now, mind you, Karen obviously didn't have too much of a problem with this because she's the one taking the pictures, but...
True, but it's kind of
I know.
Bless Karen for having so much compassion and so much tolerance for Errol, but it's still... You go into the woods not to talk on Facebook. That's kind of the point, to get away from technology and people and connections. And
it was funny, though, because he calls me, he's like, let's see if Lisette's around, and I'm like, you are alone with your wife in the wilderness.
And you're calling your sister and your friend.
You're calling your sister and your friend.
Both of which were females.
Yeah. It's just oh my god. It's like, Lisette's not there. Let's see if Amy's there. And I'm like, what? Why? Why? But to be fair, he was getting firewood, I guess, and he was in a car, so... even...
It's possible that it might be your connection's mercenary pen, but at the same time, when we put it up to YouTube, the YouTube quality afterwards is not great either. I was hoping that it would just be the stream that's the problem, and that the video quality would improve once it's like an actual embedded video, but that's not the case. So I don't know where the problem lies. It's obviously in the connection somewhere between my system and Google, I guess, or maybe YouTube. Because, I mean, on our Google system here, it looks fine. It looks great.
Looks great. Yeah.
Anyways, I wish you guys could see this.
Yeah. We should just take a screenshot of this and just be like, this is what it's supposed to look like. I'm like, oh, man. I told you earlier, I'm like, my cheekbones look awesome because of the HD quality. Yeah.
I don't have cheekbones. I just got puff.
Puff is good, too.
Yeah.
I could do that. Well, it's one of the few features I like about myself. So, that's, there are other puffy parts that I'm not a fan of.
Oh, puffy parts.
Puffy parts.
We're running out of things to say.
One more. Oh, we have one more. I'll announce it too. We might be joined by a friend of ours, maybe halfway through. We're going to try and conference him in, so I anticipate a lot of
I hope so, because apparently neither of us did homework this week. I'm usually really good about doing research.
I actually read the plot summaries because it's been a while since I've read the comics.
Me too. And that's not to say I don't know the subject matter, because I wouldn't even suggest talking about it if I didn't know it, but it's still sort of... I mean, unfortunately, there's a lot of things about the books I don't remember, and yes, we are talking about Scott Pilgrim tonight, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah. So, and then go back to YouTube for me.
So it's bouncing between 144p and 360p, which 360p isn't terrible, but I mean, considering it's supposed to be 720p.
Silly YouTubes.
I talked to some video friends this week about the video quality, and I'm like, apparently it was broadcasting at 144p, and they're like, I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, that was
like
back in the Stone Age.
Anyways, it's 8 o'clock. Hello and welcome to 3 Geeks in a Pod. I'm Ja-Mez.
I'm Manda, and it's actually 2 Geeks in a Pod this week because Errol will not be joining us because, well, he's back by now, but he's tired from camping. Errol went camping.
Camping.
Of all things, with his wife.
Camping with his wife.
His wife. He said
and
he'd have
everyone else.
Yeah, he said he'd have no internet connection whatsoever, but he found some, and of course he took full advantage of his addiction and just, you know, posted pictures to Facebook and called people and
conference called people.
You know, he's alone with his wife for the first time in like ever, and he can't stop clawing at the internet. So yeah.
So it'll just be the two of us. Possibly a guest. We're still waiting to find out.
So my friend Leaf, who is a huge fan of Scott Pilgrim, so he was...
Which we hadn't announced in the actual broadcast.
Oh, didn't we?
No. This week we're doing Scott Pilgrim as our topic. And I jumped again. I'm so used to announcing topics online and stuff. Yeah. Well, we do. Like, we have, but at the same time, people... My rule of thumb is that I always assume that no matter which avenue we're telling them about stuff.
We got to build up to
we got to make sure, because especially if this is going to the audio podcast, I cut the pre-show out of it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So it's very specifically just from like 8 o'clock on that's going to be in the audio episode.
Okay.
I normally try and, like Errol usually does the pre-show and tells us where to go. So if you guys are joining us live, don't forget that we do have a chat room that we are watching over on my other screen here. If you look at the doobly-doo right here, right there, finger, right there, you can actually join us in debsnerl.com/chat and be part of the conversation, which is great because that's probably our favorite part of this, is that we actually get to talk with you guys. And
now there is a bit of a lag on there, so if we don't answer your question right away, then that's the reason. So, you know, if there's a whole bunch of chat going on, we probably won't get to a lot of it.
We don't always get to everything, but it's still nice to be a part of it. And I always enjoy that about other podcasts when they do the live show. I like to be part of it. And,
yes. So tonight, again, and apologies, we sort of apologized for this earlier, the video quality this week is a little low. Poor Ja-Mez got a wonderful, awesome HD webcam, and for some reason YouTube hates it.
I don't know what it is. I can't figure it out.
It can't figure it out. We've got a snowball mic, though, so the sound's pretty good, which is awesome. But so just bear with us. Week to week, we're going to be working with getting a bit of better video quality, hopefully.
What's really sad is apparently last week, partway through, the video quality was so low that Google just dropped part of the broadcast.
Oh, really?
Our voices were still going, but we just had a great big 3 Geeks logo in the middle of the screen for about 10 minutes. I'm like,
I wish we could program it so that like a big error message came up. Error message. It could be the same thing.
Do you know The Simpsons? Whenever they did the joke of like the broadcast shutting down, and showed the guy at the camera with the alcohol bottle. I wanted to duplicate that like error the lost broadcast signal, but have Errol just like holding a plug or something and being all excited.
That's great. So while Errol's gone, we figured Ja-Mez suggested this topic, and I was in full agreement.
I don't know if he likes this or not.
I think he does. He likes SCOTT Pilgrim.
Yeah.
I don't think he's read the novels, but I know he likes the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this week we will be talking about SCOTT Pilgrim, which is like Ja-Mez is holding up a very pixelated, I guess, blob of yellow to the screen. That's the SCOTT Pilgrim book. The movie came out in 2010. That was my first exposure to it.
The book series ran from 2004 till 2010. 6 books altogether, telling one big story arc. What I really love about the series, and is actually part of the
the quality is suddenly slightly higher.
Huzzah!
Woohoo!
Part of what I love about this series is that it's written by a Canadian about Toronto, set in Toronto, and very much celebrates Toronto, which a lot of even other Canadian comics and whatnot don't necessarily celebrate the city they're in or the country they're in. And it usually, unfortunately, they're stereotypes of Canadiana, whereas it's just regular teenage kids or 20-something kids who are just living their lives and having one like wild, crazy adventure, but it's all set in a very real city. And it's like everything in the comic is very much about Toronto. Which is
amazing when you think about it, because it's so Toronto-centric.
Yeah.
The only comics, or the only city that I've seen in comics, or even in media that's described a lot is, say, New York or Los Angeles, maybe. I don't see a whole lot of cities like that. You'd think that somebody...
But even when you're talking about New York, like when Spider-Man or the Avengers are going through New York, you'll see like iconic things.
Yeah.
Like you'll see the Statue of Liberty and whatnot, but they don't go to, the famous Starbucks around the corner. Whereas this is very specifically talking about the Second Cup.
Right.
And the Flight Center, and like very common stores in Toronto, which I apologize to anyone who's not from Toronto because you won't know these locations, but they're very common locations in Toronto, and they're not really even famous locations around Toronto. They're just color in the background. And Brian Lee O'Malley went to painstaking details to draw all of these things in the background, and to just because it was in his neighborhood and he wanted to base it on something familiar. Like he went around to specific houses and took pictures and then based very specific locations in the book based on that. And what's really cool is when they eventually got to doing the movie, originally Universal asked Edgar Wright and crew to go to New York and substitute Toronto with New York, which is actually kind of backwards because whenever they do movies, they usually shoot in Toronto, Vancouver, and it's doubling for, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles. And Brian Lee O'Malley kind of fought for it and said, Edgar Wright kind of fought for it and said, this should be Toronto. It's about Toronto. It's in Toronto. It celebrates Toronto. We should be shooting around Toronto.
Yeah,
and, that's what makes sense.
Well, it's funny because...
Yes, Kara, your comic is set in Toronto. I'm not trying to say there aren't other ones. I'm just saying this is the first, especially one this high profile that's got a movie.
That's what I was thinking. It's kind of amazing that it didn't almost limit its audience because it was so site-specific and everything.
So I fully admit that I'm kind of biased on this because it's so centered in Toronto, but I think beyond that, it's still a fun story. So.
I thought it was cool. Just when I saw the movie, and then when I read the book afterwards, I was in Toronto for like 3 years.
Yeah.
By that point, I think,
Me too.
or like just over 3 years, and so by that point, I'd gotten into Toronto. I knew the culture and everything. So to see something, I'm like, I know that. I hate that. I hate.
But there's still some places in here that I haven't been to.
Oh,
I've never been to the reference library. I've only ever been outside of Honest Ed's. I've never been to Castle
Honest Ed's. I'll get to that later. So just for people who don't actually know, the Scott Pilgrim graphic novel is about a guy named Scott Pilgrim.
I'd almost call it a manga more than a graphic novel. I know it's not written in the same. It's not written like back to front the way Japanese manga
but the artwork itself.
But the artwork, even the cut of it, like here's a typical manga. They are the exact same size, same dimensions and everything. And like even the artwork inside, it's all black and white, just like most manga are.
Yeah.
It's kind of bright, so you can't really see it. But the characters it's the big eyes, the very simple line drawing, the very sort of textured backgrounds, and very actiony sort of moments throughout the book. It's totally inspired by manga.
Yeah, and so it's about a guy named Scott Pilgrim. He's a 23-year-old slacker type of character. He's in a band. He started a band. He's not really all that good in the band, and he falls in love with an American girl who's moved to Toronto named Ramona Flowers, I think.
Yeah, well, the setup even before that is that at the very beginning he's dating a high schooler, which is a bit of controversy for his friends.
Yes.
And as the story develops, he kind of meets this very
hipster.
She's a hipster, but she's almost a manic pixie dream girl. Except she's not, because instead of improving her life, like it's kind of I almost feel like Brian Lee O'Malley was making fun of that.
Poor car. You've never been to the reference library? Yeah, seriously, man. I wanted to freak out about that when you said it, but I wanted to wait until we get the plot synopsis.
I didn't even know it was a thing until I read Scott Pilgrim.
Really? Oh my gosh! I had to go there. The reference library in Toronto is this huge, like, 5-story, well, not 5 stories isn't huge, but it's this huge library where you can't really get anything out. It's just where all the research material is. If you want to research anything, you go to the reference library. And I always had to go there to get audition pieces, because I'd sign up for an audition. They're like, the place in the reference library. Go look it up. Yeah. So I got very quickly used to looking up stuff there.
I do mean to. I want to at some point do a video where I tour all the Scott Pilgrim locations in Toronto as cool. 3 geeks.
Actually, so yeah, so Scott Pilgrim, Ja-Mez and I are both biased because not only does it speak to the city that we live in, but it also speaks to our generation.
Yeah, because it's very much,
it's very much written for our generation.
Most of the references and everything are about, well, there's a lot of Japanese manga kind of style in there, but there's also a lot of it's very much video games based in the, like, late 80s, early 90s. So the NES, the Super NES, Sega Genesis, which is, our sort of, when we were kids and we were starting to get into video games, and probably my heyday of video games when I was really into them. Not so much now, but, all the favorite games, like even in the movie, there's, music and sound effects right out of Zelda.
I was going to say the movie just totally embraces that. Well, yeah, when they're playing the fairy fountain theme.
And all of the graphics, and one of my favorites is the P-bar.
Oh God, the P-bar, that was great. When I watched the movie, like, one thing that struck me was not only the style and the video game references being thrown in there, but that it was just a part of that world. Like, in my mind, it was so grounded in realism, and yet I was like, no, it's a thing where she skates through subspace and stuff, or when when you kill somebody, they erupt into coins and stuff. So it's kind of like...
Well, there's a theory going around that the entire movie, just for anyone who's not actually seen the movie it's about Scott Pilgrim, and he falls in love with Ramona Flowers, but he cheats on his current girlfriend to be with her, and there's all kinds of drama surrounding that. Mm-hmm. And Ramona's got 7 former boyfriends, 7 evil exes who form up to create a league to fight Scott Pilgrim. In each book, he's got to fight off against a different ex, leading to the final boss ex. So it's very much video game based. And the movie kind of embraces all that and does a really cool sort of stylized sort of action and fighting. Errol has joined the chat.
Errol's joined! Hello, Errol!
It's very... damn it, I forgot where I was going with that point.
Okay, well, before we do that, so we're actually going to be joined by a guest tonight. My friend Leaf. His email is, sorry.
Don't read it, just, if you want to type it in.
So we're going to be joined by my friend Leaf, who is a big Scott Pilgrim fan, and he's also going to be the director for our new web series Sidekicks, which hopefully we'll be filming soon, because we might... Alright, so this might get all technologically horrible, so apologies in advance if we end up cutting out, or if people... we've sent it out. Okay.
So yeah, as I was saying, the movie does some really cool things with the visuals and whatnot. It's sort of got a cartoony thing, but there's a theory going around the internet and other places that the entire thing is in Scott's head. And there's a certain point in the movie, I can't remember.
Oh, there's the Leaf. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Good.
We're doing great.
So
just before we get to Leaf, I wanted to just quickly finish my thought that, yeah, the entire... I don't know if this theory is true. Edgar Wright talked about it in one of the commentaries, but that the entire thing is within Scott's head, and that's why it's so cartoony and over the top, and that's why he ends up being kind of the hero of the story, and a lot of things kind of go his way, even though it doesn't go his way. But there's more to it than that, and I'm not really doing the theory any sort of justice. But if you ever sit down, especially the movie, watch the movie with that in mind. Like, watch it through once, but then watch it through with the idea that it's entirely within his head.
That's an interesting theory.
Yeah, I thought it was amusing.
Cool. So this is Leaf. Let us know if you can hear him or if you're having problems seeing him. He's going to pop on screen every once in a while. He's joining us via Hangout. He's very patient with us. And
yeah, be patient with us, because when we do these hangouts, especially with somebody else, there's a bit of lag. So we've already got lag in the chat room, but we're going to get lag in the video trying to have conversations. So, Leaf, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody? Let them know what your expertise with Scott Pilgrim is.
What your experience is.
Expertise is more like just sheer excitement and fanboyishness over Scott Pilgrim. That's about my...
That's similar to us, I think.
Oh, man.
So yeah, as we've been saying, I think we all are on the same page about Scott Pilgrim, and yeah, I'm not sure where we want to go tonight in this conversation. So.
I wanted to talk about kind of like the movie as an adaptation of the books, because it's one of the few times I've seen it's a good adaptation. I think
it's a good adaptation, but it's weird because it's both at times incredibly faithful and then not at all faithful, because part of the problem with the movie was they started pursuing
Errol wants to be invited now too.
I didn't hear or see that comment.
Invite me to the hangout.
I didn't hear or see that comment.
We should probably.
Movie, Edgar Wright started pursuing the movie around the time he finished doing Shaun of the Dead, and wanted to do it really badly, but the problem was at that time there was only 3 books out.
Yeah.
So, oh no, it must have been about the time they were doing Hot Fuzz, because Shaun of the Dead and this came out at the same time. So, he wanted to do it, but the story wasn't quite finished.
Yeah.
So they started writing the film long before the books were done, and the last book actually came out about a month or so, I think, before the movie came out. So there's the first act of the movie is incredibly faithful, like to a T to the first book. But from there, it starts to kind of deviate and become its own thing, while still kind of staying true to the spirit. But there's a lot of plot points and dialogue and character moments and whatnot that aren't included in there. I mean, there's the entire storylines and characters that are involved. You don't see any of Scott's family.
Nope.
The only mention of his family is the house he grew up in.
You don't see Knives' family either.
You don't see Knives' family. You don't see anything about when Scott lived up north, or his friend who he went to school with up there, who came back for like a book or two towards the end.
Oh, okay.
And there was some question there, and
bye, Errol. Let me see. Oh, I was just thinking. So Kari mentioned as well that she feels like she's the only person in the world who is annoyed by Scott Pilgrim.
No, I know a lot of people who are very annoyed by Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Very annoyed. In fact, I know more people who hate Scott Pilgrim than like it.
Leaf and I have a friend who is incredibly annoyed with the ending of the Scott Pilgrim movie. And I know that...
that I'm annoyed with. And I do have
too.
one major beef that could technically ruin Scott Pilgrim, but doesn't quite. And I'll explain that.
I was like, where's the man teasing? Leaf, that's your job tonight. You can tease me about men, should you choose to.
I'll do my best.
Alrighty. Anyway,
So what's their beef with it?
what was her beef with it?
Like, I'd like to know what Kari's beef is.
There might be some minor spoilers, by the way, guys, just so you know. We're going to try and avoid them as much as possible, but obviously we can't avoid everything.
Scott Pilgrim dies at the end.
Scott Pilgrim dies horribly in a volcano.
It's 3 years.
Isn't technically out of the realm of possibility for those books, but...
So, Leaf, I remember our friend Shannon actually hates the movie with a passion. And I forget what her beef with you
She doesn't hate it as much as she used to. But her beef is like that he gets to get away with treating both Knives and Ramona like
crap. Oh, I think
your audio's cutting out.
Oh no, there you are. We still got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
The end, they both kind of give in, and he not only does he get to treat them like crap, he actually gets the one that he wants at the end, and the other one kind of gives in, and there's no
real punishment for him.
Well, see, I mean, the problem is that they shot it with, originally he went back to Knives, but the problem with that ending is that the book has this awesome moment where Knives kind of outgrows Scott.
Yeah.
So if he goes back to Knives, she doesn't get that character growth. And I think in the ending that they put in the movie, she does get that, but he still gets to win because he gets Ramona. And I think what they should have done is that he doesn't get either of them, but everybody's okay with that. Because,
yeah, and I did take a bit of issue with that.
I think the way Scott learns his lesson at the end, that he kind of, the way he defeats what's-his-name in the end is that he learns self-respect and learns to fight with somebody else. I think that lesson is kind of lost in the scheme of things because, yes, he gets to win in the end, and it's like, it doesn't. We said we would avoid spoilers, but we're telling everybody the ending of the. But it's hard to because it's so part of the story.
The thing with the spoilers, though, is that sometimes, like, this is the type of story too where it does kind of go places you'd expect it to go. You know, like. And there's good triumphing over evil.
Both the movie and the book have a problem with there's no real character growth for anybody because everybody's kind of in the same place, except for all of the X's, but they kind of have like a negative growth because they're all kind of defeated. And,
well, it's kind of funny. At least I don't know if Leaf would agree with me or you would agree with me, but when I look at Scott Pilgrim, the character. I found I liked him more in the comic than I did. I don't know whether Michael Cera was completely the right choice for casting.
To be honest, I've heard this before, and I can see the point of it, but at the same time, he's not the same character that's in the book. That's true, but I kind of feel like that was the only way for them to go with the movie, because you needed somebody who was Michael Cera-ish, kind of that sheepish kind of person to be Scott Pilgrim, because Scott Pilgrim can be kind of an ass sometimes. And he can really try your nerves in the book. And it's funny and amusing when he's drawn as a character, because you can go from one panel where he's being a jerk to the next panel where he's got the big puppy dog eyes and being all cute. You can't do that in a movie very well.
No, you can't. That's what I found. Like, when in the book, he kind of walks the line a little better with charming jerk, almost, or charming idiot jerk, I guess.
Now, Kari's saying that, she's noted that because it's typical wish fulfillment. Scott wins at the end because, he beats all of her ex-boyfriends and gets Ramona. And I will say that, yes, that is stupid, but at the same time, if the theory goes that Scott is, all of this is in his head, then yeah, that would be the ending he would write for himself. The girl that he's been pursuing the entire time is the girl that he would win in the end. Yeah. And Scott is a very simple character, so if he is, he wouldn't write himself a complex ending. He wouldn't have really learned anything at the end because he's not the kind of character that learns lessons. Now, that's a complete cop-out, but if you approve of that theory, that might be kind of an excuse to go, to kind of explain. It's not a great excuse. I'm just saying that it might be a reason why this is the way it is. So,
yeah, I mean, the thing is, I do actually really like Scott Pilgrim, like the series, the book series, and the I think that Scott is a jerk and whatnot, but
he's a likable jerk.
He's got
jerk. Moments that kind of win you over a lot of the time. And there's moments where he kind of annoys you, but there's other moments where yes, he's cute and likable and he's funny. And I find I like his cast of friends more than him, especially characters like Wallace and his sister, and especially in the movie, because those two characters were terrific.
It would have been interesting actually to see an ending where he and Ramona didn't get back together.
Well, that's what they originally did, was that he went with Knives.
Well, no, like if he didn't go with anybody, because a lot of his issues and Ramona's issues is that they both keep getting into these really toxic relationships.
And that they aren't capable of really letting go of anything, and that's the whole point of it, is that not only does Ramona have an evil ex, but Scott's got an evil ex as well, and he's got all these other girls heard stuff behind. And it's kind of frustrating for everybody that, you know, I forgot where I was going at.
Yeah, it's interesting. What do you think, Leaf? What is your opinion on these things? Your mouth.
Well,
pulling an arrow.
I mean, I love the end personally.
Yeah.
Like,
you're cutting out a bit, Leaf.
Oh, you're back, kind of, maybe. Talk. Or just leave the frame. Okay. Oh dear. Anyway, why did you like the ending?
Hear me?
Yep.
Well, I like the ending. I like the ending because because it's not, I don't know, it ends happy, but at the same time it doesn't end, right? I mean, the whole bit with the continue scroll up, right? Lets you know he didn't actually win, right? Because when you get that at the end of a video game, what is it? It's actually for the end of the game.
Right. Huh.
That there indicates the game's over, or that he's won.
So your audio keeps cutting in and out, unfortunately.
Yeah, we're only getting like half of your... Kari's commenting in here that even though I proposed the dream theory, and I'm not saying that's a good excuse. I'm just saying it might explain away why the ending is the way it is. She's saying that it kind of negates all of the consequences in character development, but there are no real consequences or character development for him. And I mean, that's a lot of people's problem with both the movie and the books. I mean, in the books you can kind of get away with it.
Yeah.
But in the movie, there has to be stakes. There has to be consequences. Personally, Kari's right about it.
Personally, I always hate I hate those theories that it was a dream theory.
In most cases, I hate it too. But I think in this instance, it does explain certain things. And I'm not saying it's a dream. I'm just saying that Scott Pilgrim lives in a very fantasy world in his head kind of thing, and he would imagine it as a video game. He would imagine it as a comic book. And I'm not saying that's the theory. I'm not saying that's even correct. I'm just saying
I do think
there is credibility to the theory, and there are certain aspects of it that, not all aspects, but there are certain aspects that are kind of better with the theory.
I do think that the strongest female character, at least in that, was Knives, just because
she's the only one who has development.
She has the development, like she goes through the breakup process and then realizes, no, she doesn't need
she also goes from the quiet teen to the fangirl, who is, like, she goes from very introverted to very extroverted, and then to very sort of creepy stalkery to, I've learned an important lesson, and by the end she's kind of fighting for herself, and I don't know. She's the only one with actual real development, I feel, in the entire movie, and it's kind of like Scott almost learned something, and they even kind of throw the joke into the movie, like, I feel like I learned something, but he never kind of, they hang a hat on the fact that he's supposed to learn something, but he doesn't.
Sorry. That's kind of a lesson, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, we're going into criticism here, but I mean, I want to kind of weigh that I love this book, but there are problems.
There are problems with it.
Fully willing to admit.
Yeah.
In fact, there's one problem that I have with the book that kind of ruins the entire thing.
What's that?
I don't for a second believe that one, let alone 8 men, would love Ramona.
Really?
Because I don't think she's a very likable person. I don't think she's
just
attractive.
Because you're not likable doesn't mean that guys won't date you.
I guess. It doesn't work for me because I don't feel like there would be all this sort of admiration and kind of obsession
Ramona
with her.
is that type of girl who guys will fall over because she has that mysterious quality.
Yeah, she's a manic pixie dream girl, but she doesn't have any sort of... I don't feel like she has any redeeming qualities or likable qualities, so it's... I can't imagine...
But think about the guys that are also go her.
Yeah, they're very shallow guys, but...
Yeah. And she makes bad love decisions. And it's interesting, though, because Ramona, despite the fact that she is the love interest, the one thing I kind of like is that, you're right, she isn't entirely likable. Some of the guys, some of the backstory that she has for these guys she dated, she kind of treated them like crap.
But even, even her interactions with Scott are often very... snide and sort of, it's not even like she's just, I hate to use the word, but she's almost a bitch. And, like, not even, like, in a redeeming sort of, well, she's got bitchy qualities, but she's also kind, and she's also all these other things, and generous. But no, she's just constantly mean, and constantly sort of above everybody else and better than everybody else.
Well, that's attractive to some guys.
I guess. I can't relate to it, so it just, I don't buy that guys
It's like,
her.
if I was, like, or if, like, if somebody...
She's hot.
I don't find her attractive. I don't.
Well, that's fine. You don't have to. I guarantee you there are more than 8 guys in the world who find her attractive.
I guess, but I just...
She has the hairstyle. It's the come-hither sort of look.
She's a FTW kind of girl, right? And lots of guys find that attractive, especially... Yeah. That's her...
She's a prize.
She's a prize, but also she's what's the word I'm looking for? She's kind of giving guys what they want, right? Redeeming quality is the fact that she snubs the system. Because I know plenty of people who like that, right? And so she snubs the system. She, what is it with Matthew Patel, the first guy, right? Like it's a girl and an Indian guy who beat up all the jocks.
Right.
Right? That's totally awesome. Right? She sticks up for the minority class and stuff like this. And so that kind of thing is, I mean, she uses it, so it kind of negates itself. But the fact that she does that is a redeeming quality from a certain perspective, from a certain cultural, socioeconomic perspective.
And I get that there are reasons why people would be attracted to her, but I can't buy that it would become an obsession.
Oh yeah,
necessarily.
I can.
I guess. I mean, you guys are free to disagree with me. I just don't buy it. I don't, and I won't. So, I can't. I don't find her even the least bit interesting. Well, Kari's defending her, saying she's charismatic. I don't find her charismatic. Kari's saying she doesn't like Scott. I disagree. I think Scott's at least adorable and funny and amusing sometimes, whereas I never find Ramona funny or amusing.
Well, it depends. Is it the way she talks? Maybe not. Is it her physicality?
It's all of it. It's just everything she does. Just kind of. It's not even just her being a bitch. There's just.
That's okay.
I just don't
if
like
you're
her.
Attracted, that's fine.
I just have a hard time buying that the entire premise of the story is based on...
that Scott would be obsessed with her?
Not just Scott, but there's 7 other guys who are obsessed with her. And I kind of buy Gideon because Gideon sees her more as an object to own. And it's the object that he can't own, and that's why he's obsessed with her. Whereas the other guys, it's very much an infatuation that just kind of doesn't end. And
I'm thinking about, like...
But that's our culture in this day and age.
I'm thinking about like one of my exes, for instance, right? And he broke up with me, and when somebody breaks up with you, you get obsessed. You truly, like Knives did, you truly get obsessed. You truly get obsessed with getting them back and changing your ways. And at least for a year, you know, you're just that's your goal. If you were really heartbroken by it, if you were really and truly heartbroken, you just get obsessed with like, what do I have to do to get this person back? And eventually, it doesn't even become about the person. It just becomes about like getting that thing you lost, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but I don't find. I don't buy that she's that thing that people would be obsessed about.
Okay, that's okay. You know,
it's just going to be something that we're going to disagree.
Yeah,
the premise doesn't work for me, but I overcome it because I like everything else about
that's
the story.
actually good.
So.
She mesmerizes people. That's a better word for it.
No, and I get that, but it's still just it doesn't work for me, and it just sort of.
Yeah. So, yeah. What about good things about the movie? I guess we should dive into that.
Well, like I said, it's first of all, it's a celebration. A lot of people took issue with this, and a lot of people think that it's not a very geeky movie. But I think just how steeped it is in Japanese anime and manga, and how steeped it is in video game lore.
Please elaborate on that.
It's not geeky.
Yeah, a lot. Certain people consider it more hipster than geek.
Hipster, really?
Yeah.
Well, like
hipster,
which I get with the music scene, but
music and like some of their
the culture and the neighborhoods that they live in.
Yeah,
it is sort of hipster, but I mean it's so steeped in.
It's so geeky, like so geeky.
I don't understand.
Hey guys, I learned the bass line from Final Fantasy II. Like, as if that isn't one of the geekiest culture references ever.
Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the movie again before. I watched, like, movie clips. And, I'm gonna do this for the rest of the podcast. I watched, like, movie clips, but it's kind of fun how I can watch that movie again and, like, just keep laughing. Like, there's lines that I forget about in there. There's, like, almost every line is funny, actually. Almost every line. Until they get, and then they get to the serious relationship-y talk, and then I sit back and breathe a little, and then they get funny again. What's that? God, you don't.
Well, it came with the digital copy, so I put it on my
God.
phone. I've got. This is how obsessed with it I am. I don't just. I'm gonna throw my phone on the floor.
You're so obsessed that you dropped your phone.
In protest.
In protest.
Not only do I own the paperback manga, I own the color comics, only the first 2 volumes. I haven't bought the third one yet. I bought the movie in Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copy. I have the digital copy on my phone. I have both of the soundtracks. I bought the video game.
Yep.
And have played through it like 3 times.
Yeah.
Like it's not something I don't love. Like it's something that but again, I still have problems with it. However, I don't want to go into everything that's problematic about it, but it's a fun, quirky movie and book series, and there's a lot of very likable, interesting characters. And again, I love the fact that it's so steeped in Toronto. Like, part of what I love about the movie is that not only did Edgar Wright fight to make sure it was set in Toronto, he actually hunted down locations that were in specific panels in the comic. Like, I'm not just talking about Casa Loma. I'm not just talking about
the
reference
second
library.
cut that it was.
Not even the second. I'm talking about the specific door.
Oh, really?
That Brian Lee O'Malley drew Scott and what's his name's apartment.
Really?
Yes. In fact, it's not even an apartment. It's a storage closet that's about 4 feet by 4 feet. And when they opened it up, when they were doing their location scouting, it was actually filled with toilets.
Wow.
All broken toilets.
Nice.
It's not an apartment.
Did you know the story about Anna Kendrick, who plays Scott's sister?
Which story about her? A couple of them.
Okay, when she plays Scott's sister, and she went to Toronto, right? And she thought, I'm gonna get really into this role and everything. And the character in the books works at the Second Cup. So she's like, I am going to find it. I'm going to find the Second Cup. And she's American, and she doesn't know Second Cup is actually a franchise here.
It's the Canadian version of Starbucks.
It's the Canadian version of Starbucks. So it's like it's just one down from Timmy's popularity, and
but it's the higher quality.
It's the higher quality.
Not even higher quality, just the more.
It's higher quality. And anyway, so she found a Second Cup, and then like called the director in excitement, just being like, I found it! I found the Second Cup! And he was like, which one? No, it was Michael Cera she called, because Michael Cera grew up in Toronto. So he's like, which one?
Frampton, actually.
Brampton? Oh,
yeah, I know
whatever.
people who went to school with him.
Yeah, okay. And he's like, which one? And she's like, what do you mean? And
I found the Tim Hortons.
There was another funny one. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but when I first read the comic, slash the only time I read the comic, it was shortly after I had gone to Honest Ed's for the first time.
I've still never been in there.
You still...
I've been
the comic,
to it, and I've seen the outside.
That remains, like, the one scene from the comic that remains etched into my memory, because that was my exact experience.
Just being overwhelmed with everything?
Yeah, so for those of you who haven't read the comic, or those of you who haven't, don't live in Toronto, Honest Ed's is this ginormous thrift store that's been around for, like, how long has it been around? Like 70 years or something ridiculous like that. And it's just, you walk in and you might not make it back out because it's just so
like
confusing.
Wall-to-wall stuff.
Wall-to-wall stuff. You don't, like, you get lost so easily. There's different levels that go in different directions. It's like freaking Hogwarts. You think the staircases move at some point. And so when you read the comics, there's this scene where the battle, it's actually different from the movie.
It's a race, yeah.
Yeah, it's a race. It's like they have to race through Honest Ed's, and it's like, you don't know the existential crisis that is Honest Ed's.
And then the race is just so epic
that
it actually destroys Honest Ed's.
Yeah.
Because there's just too much going on.
There's just too much stuff. It's like so many bargains, so many, and,
oh, goodness.
it was hilarious. But yeah, one of the things I liked about the movie, actually, was that it was a good adaptation. In that it changed. I mean, there's still issues with it, which we've obviously outlined, but...
I mean, there's the issues with the book that kind of translate into the movie, but there's also movie issues as well.
But there's movie issues, but for the most part, I found it to be actually a good adaptation. It didn't stray too far from the material, but it was faithful enough.
But when it did, a lot of the time, it kind of improved upon...
Yeah.
Like you said, there's an entire chase scene through Honest Ed's, which would be a pain in the ass to shoot. Just because it's an insane story. There's no room to shoot anything.
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, they created so many locations on set and in the studio and whatnot, but it's still sort of, it's easier just to have a fight scene, and I think it's more poignant to have one bassist versus another bassist having a base-off kind of thing.
Oh, I want to know what, there was one fight that was really different, and it was like, because Scott has this thing...
The one at Casa Loma's very different.
Yeah, and there was also...
The Katayanagi twins is completely different because in the book he fights two giant robots, where in this one they're fighting like Avatar double dragons versus an Avatar Yeti thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, but there was when she fights the girl...
I thought that was pretty similar. I don't remember.
No, it was the outcome was different because his thing is like Roxy. That's what her name is. The thing is with her is that Scott doesn't like hitting girls.
Yeah.
You know, that's his thing. Like, and so he can't fight this ex. So what happens in the movie is they end up
Ramona makes him fight her by controlling him.
Yeah. I forget what this one is. This one is. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, no. Apparently the logo's appearing again.
What?
Are you guys getting video, or is it just the logo now?
Just the logo? Can you hear us? I hope so.
I guess that means we won't be recording here anymore.
We'll try it out. Anyway,
That's
sorry.
disappointing.
Leaf doesn't quite know. We're trying out an HD webcam, and sometimes it...
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is the webcam working for you? Like, does our broadcast look good to you, or is it all, like, pixelated and, like, look like a Nintendo game?
Every once in a while, it looks like a Nintendo game. Right now, it's about kind of standard def, not high def.
Okay.
So, and every once in a while, it cuts out, but cuts out for like maybe a second or two.
And then just goes to our logo?
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Oh no! In the book, Scott defeats Roxy himself because he earns the power of love sword in that one.
Oh, is that one?
That's when he finally admits to Ramona that he loves her and stuff.
I'm in lesbians with you.
I'm in lesbians.
There's so many great jokes from.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Robin, Honest Ed's is probably going to close.
Well, we don't know.
It's on the market.
It's in kind of financial trouble, but it's so are a lot of Toronto landmarks.
Oh yeah.
We had a similar issue with another Toronto landmark that's got one of those great big huge colorful signs, just like Honest Ed's.
Say I'm the record man.
Which they have actually torn down, and the property is now owned by Ryerson University. However, they're supposed to be putting the sign back up, but there's no word on whether it's, I don't know.
No, they're refusing to.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well then.
That's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah. It's really disappointing.
It's coming back now. It's like we're like on a lifeline or something. You know, you see the
But it's sad because these are very specific Toronto landmarks that are, like, Honest Ed's and Sam the Record Man are...
The entirety of Mirvish Village. Whoa, that's a
God.
big area. It's all for sale.
Wow.
That's big. Sorry, we're going off topic here.
Well, it's kind of on topic.
Leaf, why do you like Scott Pilgrim so much? All related Toronto stuff and whatnot. But...
Why, thank you, Amanda. Let me just take this moment. What do I love? Well, I mean, okay, it's video game geeky, and it is hardcore video game geeky. You know, so I was gonna watch it kind of as soon as I saw the first trailer. I was like, damn, I am seeing this movie. And then it was like, Edgar Wright's directing it. Well, of course I'm going to see it.
That's the only reason I want to see Ant-Man.
Yes, I know. That looks... actually, is there a trailer out for that yet?
No, there's just the thing that they showed at Comic-Con like 3 years ago that you can't even find an actual copy of that's not bootleg, but there's a little short video they showed where he's like jumping through a hallway, shrinking and growing and taking out a bunch of guys and then jumping through a vent, or I don't know.
Okay. So, yeah, and then, I mean, you watch the movie and it opens up with the awesome 16-bit Universal logo and 16-bit Universal sound. I mean, like, seriously, I just knew as soon as the logo came on, I was going to love this movie.
Yeah.
The part where it got me was the in the opening where they were going through and they refer to Toronto as the mystical land, or the like fabled land of Toronto or something, Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be magical.
Yeah, so it was good, and then Michael Cera's finally, for once, not his usual stupid self in a movie, which I thoroughly enjoyed, because I mean, up until Scott Pilgrim, he'd always been kind of that dopey, weak-ass love interest. Right? And in this, he's a cool geek hipster, you know, love interest in the movie who actually has some agency over his own life and kicks ass. I mean, like, seriously, what geek guy doesn't want to be Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah, admittedly, for the flaws in the story and stuff, this movie made me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Yeah. That's honest. I know my problem is I went to a Second City show last night and they had this line, which I'm going to repeat over and over again, which is we're all bad feminists. Because I feel like I'm a bad feminist when I say I love this movie so much as much.
Why? Why?
I don't know, because, you know, it's the reasons from earlier, you know, like he treats the girls like crap and he gets away with it, the girls don't get as much development, blah, 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 blah. But I watched it, and it's so good in its homages, it's so good in its fight scenes, too.
It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater if you make a statement like that.
Huh?
It's throwing the baby out with the bathwater if you make a statement like that. You're not a bad feminist for liking the movie. Are all the feminists who like all movies that don't pass the Bechdel test bad feminists?
That's true.
Because I guarantee you every single feminist in the world likes a movie that does not pass the Bechdel test.
I'm sure most of them enjoy at least one Disney princess film, which...
Oh my god. Yes.
I mean, none of those pass, so...
No.
I like that he put the Bechdel test, and he's called back to last week's episode.
Yeah.
So, A, stop calling yourself a bad feminist.
Okay.
Because what do you do?
I'm not even really that much of a feminist anyway.
It's okay. You just need to hang out with Shannon more.
So.
No, but it's sort of like when they were listening to some song and they were like watching a music video on YouTube, and they're like, that is terrible. Those women are being like, they're like practically naked. But do you see any of the men being naked? No. And meanwhile they're like dancing to the song while it's playing, and like, that's terrible. Turn it up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly. But when I was watching it again too, like, there's some great fight scenes in there. Like,
oh yeah, the fight scenes are amazing.
They're fantastic.
What I really like about the movie with the fight scenes is that Edgar Wright, very specifically, the trend right now is to do a lot of like close-up stuff and a lot of like slow motion, the very Zack Snyder sort of fight scenes. And he's like, no, I'm gonna go do the '80s style Hong Kong action film where it's all fast speed. In fact, we're shooting it at a slightly slower speed, so that when it's played back at regular speed, it looks a little more kinetic and frantic. And a lot of he does use slow motion in parts, but it's sort of it's when it kind of deserves it, as opposed to the speed ramping, which looks kind of But the action is amazing. And what's really cool is that they actually trained the actors to do a lot of the fights. There are stunt guys, of course, because there's certain things that you just can't put the actors through, but there's a lot of stuff they did put the actors through. Like during the fight with the Jason Lee style character, I can't remember his name.
Gideon.
No, the second guy when they're shooting, when they're at the one at Casa Loma.
Oh,
there's a scene where one of the stunt doubles smashes the
Lucas
head.
Lee.
Lucas Lee, that's it.
Yeah.
Smashes the skateboard over Scott's head. Well, that was actually
the actors.
The actor getting hit over. No, it was a stunt double who was doing it.
Yeah. Because
it's a stunt double actor in the movie. He's an actual stunt double, but when he's smashing it over the head, it's actually Michael Cera's head that they're smashing it over. He just has the hat on with the like very light metal frame underneath of it that they're hitting with, and apparently it still hurt.
I do enjoy actually that there's that scene where, because they actually used a stunt double to play the stunt double in the film.
I just want to mention that if you watch the movie, they're doing a very Hilary Duff-esque movie, because that was when Brian Lee O'Malley was walking to Casa Loma one time, he saw that they were shooting a Hilary Duff movie, and he's kind of making fun of that by having the actress in there have a very similar name, being a very Disney-esque character.
Yeah.
I actually have done work for the actress who is the character in that scene. She doesn't have any speaking lines, but there's a couple close-ups of her. Her name's Emily Cassie, and I cut her demo reel on a couple of her plays.
Oh, fun!
I might be the reason she got into college.
Hey, you make lives better. Yay!
Just gonna drop some references to people and just name drop them. I'm too cool for you.
That being, like, with all that stuff being said about like it being such a great video game movie, I'm wondering if that's part of the reason it didn't do that well at the box office either.
There's the other reason that, Leaf even said that the trailer worked for him, but there's a lot of people. It's a hard concept to sell to people, and just doing he's got to fight 7 evil exes. The whole love story in and of itself isn't really that mind-blowing, and it's hard to sell a lot of the charm and the charisma of the movie in a trailer, so it's not something that was easily kind of marketable to people. And I don't feel like they necessarily marketed it to... clearly they marketed it to Geeks because Geeks are the major market that went after it, but everybody else is it's not really necessarily their kind of movie, and the video game aspect of it kind of hurt it a bit, but I don't feel like it was sold necessarily the best, and... unfortunately, I think it got a bad, casting Michael Cera as the lead. A lot of people are kind of really turned off by Michael Cera. That was during when his popularity was waning a bit, when people were like, "Oh, Michael Cera's gonna play Michael Cera," and which I don't mind Michael Cera. I don't mind him. I'm not as bothered by him being I love Superbad. I thought he was hilarious in that, and I know he's doing the Michael Cera thing. I love Arrested Development, and he's doing nothing but Michael Cera, but. Yeah. That's his thing. So, I don't know. I don't get the same kind of issue with it that everyone else. Yeah, it's definitely a hard movie to sell. Yeah, partly because of that video game culture. Like for us, there's no question as to whether we'll see it. The moment we see that Universal logo, I'm like, I already love this movie. I didn't even know it was about video games. I was told it was based on a comic, and I'm like, I'm kind of interested because I've got an obsession with comics, and I typically try and see every comic book movie that comes out, maybe not in theaters, especially when it comes to DVD. just because I want to support comic book films, because comic book films tend to make money, and then that kind of creates interest in comic books themselves, which really helps the industry because you get more people buying them. So just as a practical thing of trying to get people out to buy comics, I try and support comic book movies and any sort of comic book media.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of excited for this because it looked fun. It's very much based on a comic book, and I immediately went out and read the books. But yeah, it's not an easy story to sell, I don't think. So.
No, not to like the mass media. Oh, interesting thing though, for people who are watching and who might not know, and Avatar fans, the girl who voices Katara in Avatar is a role in this film. She plays.
She's also from Arrested Development as well.
Yes, she is.
And she's April O'Neil. Thank you very much.
I know that, but everyone knows her as Katara.
But April O'Neil's better.
No, she's not.
Yes, she is.
No, she's not.
Especially that April O'Neil. You've got to finish the season before you say yeah. Unfortunately, they did drop the ball on her storyline a little bit. However, the rest of the season gets much, much better. So definitely watch Ninja Turtles. Oh, second season is coming at the end of the month, guys. So catch up on the first season.
But the good thing is, and I don't know if Leaf agrees with this or not, but Scott Pilgrim is definitely getting a lot more. The movie, at least, is getting a lot more of a cult following in the years since it was released.
Oh yeah, there's showings all over the United States, and especially in LA, that it's constantly popping up in all kinds of those like small little niche theaters that show all the cult films and all the classic films. And
there's the video game too. Have you played it, Leaf?
Sadly, I have not yet.
Oh, you should. It's fun.
Kari, you are incorrect. Katara's not better than April.
Katara is better than April.
No, she's not.
Katara is better than April.
No,
yes,
she's not.
She is. That's 3 against 1. One of these things is not like the other.
I don't care. April's better.
Oh, dear. What was I going to say? What were we saying before we started ranting?
That April's better.
Katara's better. Oh, crap. I lost my train of thought. Completely.
We're arrowing each other all over the place.
We're arrowing each other. Yeah, Katara's great.
Don't get me wrong, Katara is great, but you'll never convince me that she's better than April.
But she's also in this film, which we were talking about very adamantly.
Well, I mean, just the entire cast is just an amazing lineup of people. I mean, I can't even remember all of the actors' names right now, but I mean, you've got Mike. God damn. Stall while I look up the cast list.
Stalling, Leaf, stall.
How about I just laugh for a few minutes? I can laugh randomly.
How did you like? Was the movie your introduction as well? Because I was introduced to it through the movie.
Oh yeah, I totally was introduced to it through to everything through the movie. Yeah. And I've got now the 6 paperback Scott Pilgrims. So
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's great. I love what I love the way Edgar Wright chose to film it in a comic book style without like it's tricky because Ang Lee, when he did the Hulk, right, went comic book style, but he went a little bit. He didn't go literal enough. He went just shy of literal enough, whereas Edgar Wright almost went completely literal.
Well,
Scott's hitting his head against a light post, and you get the thunk action sounds, right? Like,
and I like that, you see the typical video game, like the Versus logo come up with like the health bar or the P bar and stuff like that. But I think the problem with the Ang Lee Hulk thing is that he did the comic book panel thing, which I didn't mind as much as everyone else did.
Yeah,
but I feel like when you juxtapose it with the sort of Shakespearean drama he was trying to develop, the two don't mesh, and I think that's where the problem is. Whereas with Scott Pilgrim, you're doing the comic book thing, you're doing the video game thing, but you're doing it with characters that very much fit into a comic book or video game kind of world. So it's just part of the texture and the tone and the feeling of everything. So it works there, whereas in Ang Lee's Hulk, which I still like. I'm gonna.
Oh, me too.
I don't know why everyone hates it as much.
I still haven't seen it actually.
You want to take it home? I can take it home with a pile of movies to watch. But, anyways, I was speaking about the cast list and just the name people alone who are in this thing. You've got, Michael Cera, obviously. You've got Kieran Culkin, who's one of the famous Culkins, who is hilarious in this movie. Anna Kendrick, Aubrey Plaza from Parks and Recreation, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who's sort of an up and comer. Where is all the?
Where's all the famous people?
No, but they started going through all of these lower cat. Chris Evans as
Chris
Lucas
Evans,
Lee.
yeah, that was a big one.
All of the exes are Brandon Routh, who's famous for playing Superman. There were some great Superman bits in there.
Brandon Routh was hilarious.
Jason Schwartzman as Gideon Graves. This is not a tiny cast. This is an outstanding cast, and they're not big, huge actors, but a lot of them are really good at what they do, and it's really cool to kind of see them in this role. Like I said earlier, Anna Kendrick and Kieran Culkin are two of my favorite actors in this film because both of them just nail their character. They are hilarious throughout.
Yeah. No, and it was again, like you said, it was thrilling to see it in Toronto. It was fun for me to sit there and be like, I know that pizza, and
Yeah.
or there's Honest Ed. So it was one of those weird. It was one of those weird things. I'm like, is this how people who live in New York feel watching movies all the time, or maybe not because it's never filmed in New York, is it?
Not anymore because it's way too expensive, which is why it was weird that Universal wanted to shoot there instead of Toronto. I think they just didn't want to base it on Toronto and just. But it's sad because, like I said at the beginning, I love this so much because it's not just set in Toronto. It's not just about Toronto. It celebrates Toronto. Mm-hmm. It makes Toronto a texture. It makes it almost a character within the story. Yeah. And you couldn't do this story anywhere else because so much of what happens depends on the locations, and that's why they very specifically went after places, especially places like the Rocket and Lee's Palace.
I was going to say Lee's Palace is a good one.
The Rocket's not even there anymore. It's now apparently a swinger sex club. And Lee's Palace has been so dramatically changed that it's not even close to the same. They rebuilt it so convincingly that there's bands from across.
See, this is a sign that Errol's not here. Nobody. we
just make a comment and just keep going.
I could just say something like "woohoo, sex club" and not have anything, and not be cowering a second later.
Except everybody who's watching and paying attention to this podcast is playing Errol in their mind right now.
Well, one of the things that Edgar Wright kept bringing up when in one of the commentaries was that when they were shooting at Lee's Palace and they would show that scene to bands, everyone's like, wow, I can't believe we actually got to shoot in Lee's Palace before they closed it down. And he's like, no, we built that set. Do you see how we smashed the wall out of there?
Yeah.
We couldn't do that in the real Lee's Palace. They built it so convincingly. They didn't kind of just make, okay, we're going to make Lou's Palace and make it kind of the same. They made it, they tried to make these the same places. And that's great. I love that. That's just
He had some great attention to detail. And it's like, I feel like this is probably one of Edgar Wright's best films, in my opinion.
Which is funny because a lot of people don't think. I still think Shaun of the Dead's better.
Well,
but I think this is a close second.
I think Hot Fuzz is better than Shaun of the Dead.
Really? I didn't like Hot Fuzz nearly as much as Shaun of the Dead, but
I'm not a zombie
because I like the subject matter more.
Yeah, I'm not a movie fan. I'm an action movie fan, and so Hot Fuzz nailed. Hot Fuzz nailed every single little trope and bit that makes a 90s action movie a 90s action movie.
Oh no, and I get that and I appreciate that, but I just feel like the story in Shaun of the Dead was better. I think the jokes were better. But then again, I feel like a lot of the tropes.
You just got the jokes better. That's all.
Yeah, probably.
But on a filmmaking level, I probably think Hot Fuzz is a bit more sharp than.
Really, I feel like I feel like the pacing is a little bit off. I feel like. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it as much, and I mean, I still enjoy an action film, but it just we can sit here and argue about this all day.
We could, but it's also 9 o'clock now, so we should probably wrap up.
Why?
It's 9 o'clock.
Why?
Like time to say goodbye.
Are you in a hurry to leave?
Pilgrim? No.
Are you that excited to go home and watch Ang Lee's Hulk?
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, that'll do it for us for today. I wish we could have gotten more in depth, and what I want to do someday with us is actually do a commentary on this because there's so many moments in the film that I want to kind of point out and talk about specifically.
What was your favorite X? We can land on that.
Depends on
like in the movie,
in the fight scene or personality or
all-encompassing. Like,
because I like the storyline with the third X, the band, more because it ties in both Scott and Ramona's relationship.
Oh, it's giving us a...
Yeah, it's telling us to wrap up, but
Okay.
I do like that one in terms of story, but I think the fight scene and the resolution to Roxy's fight is even better because the joke at the end of that just kills me.
Yes.
Which I won't tell you if you guys actually want to go and see it, because that joke kills me every time.
I liked... Yeah, it depends. I really liked the band, the vegan.
Yes.
Just because
the vegan police at the end.
All the vegan jokes were killing me.
Especially since it was the Good Punisher and
Clifton Collins.
Vegan, I just love the like vegan just makes you a little bit better than everyone else.
Yeah.
I love that veganism in this world gives you like superpowers, basically.
Yes.
And awesome hair.
And yeah, and the effects in that, like when he was just standing there with the glowing eyes, I'm like, that's pretty awesome.
Again, a slight Superman reference, because in the 90s he had the electric powers and he had the steaming eyes.
And it's a toss-up between him and Lucas Lee, I think.
Lucas Lee was fun, but I didn't enjoy the fight nearly as much. Although that is an awesome resolution, too. The joke at the end of that is perfect.
Oh, I didn't get his autograph.
Sorry?
Oh, I didn't get his autograph.
Yeah.
I just meant that he's skateboarding down the road.
He's talking to me.
That was good, yeah.
He knows my name and he's talking to me. We're just gonna quote now.
I just meant when he's going down the rail and he's skateboarding down there, and there's this prolonged bit where he's going down, he's going faster and faster, and every once in a while they would cut back to Scott just going, wow, and then the last one they just kind of cut it off, so he just goes, wah. It's such a small, simple joke that doesn't even catch most people because they're like too enwrapped in the scene, but that little wah at the end, the Muppet wah, kills me every time.
Yeah. How about you, Leaf?
Lucas Lee, favorite
Lucas
X.
Lee? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I enjoy Lucas Lee.
Just all the little jokes, like the Lucas Lee one for me was just all the little jokes from when he's in the scene and then he starts addressing Scott right from within the scene that he's shooting. You know, to all the stunt doubles, and that fight was so well edited. I mean, only on my 20th time watching it did I actually focus on it, and could I see the edits where there was Michael Cera and where there was his fight double. But seriously, it's so well shot, it's ridiculously well shot. And then the skateboarding thing at the end was it was the bomb. And Chris Evans is so good in that role. He's just spot on for that character.
That was one of the first times that I actually started taking Chris Evans seriously as not just a character. I was so used to him being Johnny Storm and just being okay, he's the jokey character. But now he's there's a whole level of irony that he gets when he's doing this performance, and he I can appreciate it so much more. But it's also interesting to note that Chris Evans might be the actor who has appeared in more comic book films than any other actor. Because he's been in Scott Pilgrim, he's been in 2 Fantastic Fours, Captain America, Avengers, he was in Losers, and he was the voice of Casey Jones in TMNT. So I think he wins those comic book appearances.
There was another quote that he had in there, another line, which was call the cleaning lady. Say hello to the cleaning lady on Monday.
No, that was the third X.
Was that? Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. That was the third one. And he's like, "What? Because you'll be dust. What? Because today's Friday." And
cleaning lady comes on Monday, and she cleans up the dust.
I honestly think that joke plays a bit better in the book, but it's still a good joke.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're going to wrap it up because we've actually got a little bit long. But again, at some point I do want to do a video commentary for this. So if you guys can find copies of that somehow, at some point we will do a commentary on that. And maybe we'll actually have Leaf in the room for that one because I don't know if Errol will be able to follow. Who knows? I can never tell.
Errol's seen this one before. The difference between that one and Avatar was that he'd never seen Avatar before.
No, I know, but he still has a tendency.
He hadn't seen Avatar?
No,
the Last Airbender.
Seen The Last Airbender.
Oh, I know. That's what I'm saying. Avatar.
Oh, I know. That's
why
I was
seen it?
No.
Oh.
When he was watching it with us, he was watching it for the first time. That's why he had the headphones on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
So anyways, that'll do it for us tonight. If you want to find us, you can like us on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We're going to get the iTunes back up and running soon.
Mm-hmm.
We do have an intern who's working for us, and I've got a working computer now, so I can get back to editing the audio podcast. So we'll soon be back to that. Stay tuned for that. You can join us every Sunday. Every Sunday we go live at 8 o'clock. Join us at debsnarrow.com/3GP. Follow us in the chat at debsnarrow.com/chat, and you can be part of the show with us. And
thank you very much to Lee for joining us here tonight.
Yes, I'm sorry he couldn't be more part of the show, but anyways, we enjoyed your company, sir. Do you want to say any goodbyes or closings?
Just like 3 Geeks in a Pod, because they're funny.
Yay!
Thank you. So yeah, I think that'll do it for us tonight, and you guys have a good week.
All right. And we'll see you all next week.
I'm not Manpants.
I'm not Ja-Mez.
And neither of us are Errol.
Neither of us are Ale. Bye!
Good night, guys.